Hey everyone, Richard Tubb here. Now, can you believe it has been 3 years since I last spoke to this man? One of the most popular videos that I did for our YouTube channel for managed service providers was a demo, a look at the Ninja RMM product. And it has been 3 years since we did that video. So I spoke to my friend AJ Singh and I said, we've got to get back in the studio and we've got to record a more up-to-date demo because things have moved on a little bit in the last 3 years, haven't they, AJ?
A little bit.
So tell us, well, first of all, for anybody who's not familiar with Ninja, how would you describe the product?
So Ninja is a SaaS-based multi-tenant RMM platform that helps MSPs and IT providers manage and monitor their devices. That'll probably be the best definition in a nutshell.
Yeah. So the last video we did was in March of 2018, believe it or not. It only seems like yesterday. But give us some indications of the main ways that the Ninja product has moved on since then.
So a lot has happened at Ninja since then, Richard. The fact that we've expanded, if you don't mind, I can share my screen.
Please, yeah. Let's jump in and have a look at it. Yeah.
Awesome. We've expanded our global reach. So earlier back then, I believe all we had was San Francisco, and we had presence in the European region, and that was through a distributor. But since then, we've actually had our own team sitting in Berlin. We've also opened an office in Florida, Tampa to be specific. And funny enough, most of the executive team has moved to Austin, Texas. Our CEO, Sal, myself, our VP of support, and a few others, and in fact, our recently hired CRO, which we can talk about more in a moment. So we've all moved, we are in Austin, Texas, and we are very soon trying to open an office in Sydney once the things settle down. So we've already been hiring there.
Wow, so the team has really grown. I met the team in Berlin, great bunch of guys there, but growing into Sydney in Australia as well, that's really exciting for you.
Yep, it totally is. And moving on, so this slide might not really do justice as to what Ninja is all about at this point. So that's why we're going to talk through it. But we've added a lot more to our portfolio, Richard, since we last met. Support for other operating systems and a zillion new features in Ninja.
Is that a technical term there, a zillion?
Totally, right? And talking generally about the company, so we, as you remember, I mean, we started end of 2013 or more towards like early 2014 is when we really started the company or incorporated the company. We have almost 225 employees today. We plan to grow quite a bit this year. And more than half of our team today is technical team. That's dev, QA, support. We have 5,000 and we proudly and humbly boast of 5,000 partners today and almost 2.5 million endpoints under management. Wow.
Very impressive. And you've grown a great deal since we last did a video demo together.
We have, yes, very humbled about it. And one thing we really are proud of also is our support team. So they win laurels all the time. If you look at the CSAT scores, so that's one of the highest in our industry.
Wow.
So our support team believes in, as in Michael, our VP of support's words, transformational, not transactional support. So what that means is they really want to go all the way and be on the side of the partner to make sure their issue is resolved and not just treat that as a ticket, which they quickly want to close and get done with the day.
Yeah.
So
you've definitely got a great reputation. Ninja's got a great reputation within the managed service space. So congrats on the growth. Congrats on maintaining those service levels as you go. What does the product look like now? Can we take a look at the actual the dashboard and see where it goes?
Absolutely. So let's do that. So let's talk about Ninja, right? As a product is what I mean. So there's quite a few things, as I mentioned, that have changed. First thing, we've focused heavily on the Mac side. So we have added a lot more features as it relates to Mac since we last spoke. We've added a Sistra icon. We've also added a Mac terminal. So let's actually take a look at a Mac device.
Let's take a look at that. Because Apple Macs is an area that has absolutely exploded for managed service providers. So I can imagine this was a much requested feature.
Oh, yeah, totally, right? So we also support Catalina, all the newer operating systems, even the M1 chips. We are good with those. So we added a terminal which is again the CLI access to the Mac, which is as fluid and fast as the Windows counterpart. So I'll just show you an example to highlight.
Please.
So this is where I can show you the power of our command line. I'm just going to launch the talk command, which refreshes every sub-second. So that shows you a very interactive and almost real-time terminal access to the Mac. Kill this. Of course, it does the regular stuff. So there you go.
Yeah.
So that was one thing we added. We've also added a system tray icon for Mac. What that means is every single endpoint will receive a customizable sys icon, which can be branded by the MSP to reflect his company, add a help request form and whatnot. So something along, do I have it here? Okay, yeah. So something along the lines of it'll have a help request form. It could have a few scripts that you could run and quite a few other things.
Okay.
Also, we've added support for remote tools for Mac. So this will help you as an MSP or an IT professional log into your customer's machine in the background and fix things without interrupting the user. So the first example is, as I mentioned, the activity monitor, which is analogous to the task manager in Windows. So you can go here, you can end a process tree, or change the priority. You can also go into Finder, also known as the File Explorer, and browse the file structure real time. And also you could delete, rename, download files, or also upload files if you wanted to.
Okay. And again, all of this is transparent to the user. The user doesn't see this while it's going on. It doesn't interrupt them.
That is correct. And also we've added native scripting for Mac, which will let you perform patching on the Macs. So that's a huge win in terms of keeping your systems up to date in a very easy fashion.
Yeah.
So that is the Mac side. We also added support for Linux, which is in an open beta right now.
Okay.
So and that's also pretty much analogous here. So let me go to a a Linux machine. We can go there by also selecting these filters, which we'll talk about in a moment anyway.
Yeah, that looks interesting.
Right. So let's go to an Ubuntu machine. So we support pretty much all popular distributions of Linux. So Fedora, Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, and CentOS. Again, you have the terminal access, which you can get as a root user or as the currently logged in user. You also, again, have the same tools that you saw on the Mac side. You can also look at the software inventory. Sure. And also go to device details. So this will give you a glimpse of how the processor and memory are doing, what are the disk volumes, network adapters, and all the daemons that are running on that device. And there's also a full-blown policy. So zooming out a little bit, every device in Ninja is controlled by something called a policy. So consider a policy more like a superset of different config items that dictate device behavior. So if I go to the Linux policy, it has all these available conditions. So if the CPU breaches a threshold, same with memory. If a process is stopped or a daemon is stopped, if a disk usage exceeds a certain number, all of this will trigger an alert, which can be pushed over to ConnectWise or Autotask or the other PSAs that we integrate with as a ticket.
Got it. Would you say, AJ, this, and first of all, congratulations on the increase in features that you've put here. So it's really good to see that Linux and Apple being taken seriously by a vendor. Would you say you've got parity of features between Linux, Apple, and Windows at the moment, or is there still work to be done there?
I would say we are 80% there between Windows, Mac, and Linux. So Windows happens to be our strongest offering today. Mac and Linux are almost catching up, but then again, there's continuous work going on in that realm.
Yeah. And while we're on the topic of Apple as well, and forgive me for bouncing around a bit here, but I saw this news feature on your website a while ago now. Wanted to touch upon it, and that's to do with the mobile interfaces. So
Oh,
I
totally.
understand that you've got an iPad app as well for Ninja.
We do actually. So what we did was, I believe last year is, or maybe the year before, it's all a blur. But we released our mobile app for both Android and iOS. And the very first ask, people were like, "Hey, we love your app. It works great. But how about an iPad app?" So the top requested feature for on the mobile counterpart was an iPad app. And we finally, and by the way, people were back then just using the 2x button on iPads to see the stretched version of the Ninja app, which was not really optimal, and that's not really how we wanted, or that's not the experience we wanted them to have. So what we did was we recently launched a native iOS iPad app, and it is, I would say, it sits somewhere between the iPhone app and the web app because we have a lot more real estate to work with. So we have added more visibility in terms of how the dashboards and the look and feel is on that app.
I
And
love it.
thank you. And soon enough, we'll also be adding support for Android tablets. So it's only getting better.
Yeah. Is there anything else you can share with us that's on the roadmap as well? Because I love this idea that you're looking across all formats here. Is there anything that you've been asked about that's on the roadmap that you can share with us?
Is that regarding the mobile apps or anything in general?
Anything in general for multi-factor, I guess, from the perspective of different types of devices, different types of operating system.
I would say I think that's pretty much the scope of it. I mean, we are researching how we can work on Raspberry Pis, but yeah, it's not really official yet. So there's a lot more work that needs to go in there. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing we are looking at.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So, which brings me to a point here. And again, forgive me, AJ, if we're bouncing around. There's so much good stuff for us to cover here. But since we last spoke over the past few years, managed service providers have really become subjects of lots of attacks. They've been targeted by cyber criminals, and all of the vendors in our space, including Ninja, are on sort of high alert, and you're being looked into to make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to keep an MSP and their clients secure. What can you tell us about what's improved in the security side of things since we last spoke?
So that's actually a great question, Richard. So security has actually taken a top seat at Ninja because given our size and given this industry the way it's going, especially with the pandemic and so many attacks in the recent years on SMBs and large companies as well, we've done a few things at Ninja. So speaking of, or starting off with, we are SOC 2 compliant now. So we basically got an audit and we made sure like all our controls and they are compatible with SOC 2. So we got certified there. We also partnered with Shellman and Company for a vulnerability assessment every quarter.
Okay.
So that's also helping us make sure our infrastructure has no holes or any really in your face holes that malicious actors can take advantage of.
Yeah.
And also in the product, there's quite a few improvements we made, Richard, since then. So we also added a concept of something called node approvals.
Okay.
Which means, and I would love to talk more about it. So let's say we go to a customer and by default, earlier on, before this feature was incorporated, if you had the Ninja installer, you could just install it on any machine and it's going to show up in the Ninja console. We didn't want that. So people could add rogue devices, or if somebody got a hold of that installer, they could easily push that anywhere.
Right.
So what we added was a holding tank in Ninja, which was implemented by this, again, feature called node approval. So if I make this manual, every time a device is added to Ninja will show up in this pending bucket at the org level and also at the global level if you want to triage the devices at a much larger scale. But then you have an option to either approve it and make it a part of the mainstream, or you could reject it and blacklist the MAC address so it will never appear again. So even if somebody tries to install the Ninja agent on it again, it will self-destruct.
Wow, that's very, very interesting there. And do you see this as a benefit for the MSPs from the perspective of if they've got automatic approval turned on? Sometimes, AJ, I'm sure this never happens to Ninja customers, but sometimes we can get devices go onto the network that we're not really sure about. We're not really sure where they came from. Yeah, so do you see it as an opportunity for MSPs to make sure they're charging for all of the devices they're looking after?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, they keep the devices much more accountable and definitely leads to much more controlled environment wherein the MSP really knows what's going on and which devices belong to which locations and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely.
Very cool feature.
And this actually kind of intertwines with another feature that we released, which was credential exchange. So this is Ninja's way of securely storing credentials, and they can be used in multiple areas of Ninja. First of all, patching, scripting, and remote desktop protocol, or RDP. So let's talk about each of them one by one. So patching is the favorite thing that every RMM tool boasts about, not. Because patching is super hard, and especially Microsoft and whatnot, these guys don't make it easy. And we've known, and from our testing, we've seen many times patches fail, especially drivers and feature packs fail, because they don't have the right set of permissions on the endpoints, which is why we implemented this credential exchange. So we can inject the credentials on the fly on the devices. So let's say, for example, this Richard PC receives domain admin credentials or maybe something similar to that effect while implementing feature packs and driver updates. So again, scripts can be run in an elevated fashion by injecting these credentials on the fly. And third piece is RDP, which I mentioned. So Ninja also provides remote desktop protocol. So we actually let you tunnel into the devices. Let's see if I have a device that's demoable. So that's the RDP button. So if I click it, you can select the credentials. Before you connect to a device, it will inject those credentials and connect to that device automatically. And this is not conventional RDP. It's actually a loop back. So you don't have to leave the port 3389 open. You can just leave it closed and it's going to loop back, or the Ninja agent will loop back into the device itself and give you or present to you this RDP session. So much more secure.
Much more secure. Very cool. And on this subject of remote connectivity, which platforms do you support at the moment for, the idea of VNC or TeamViewer, that type of thing, getting into an end user's PC, or Mac or Linux?
So we support TeamViewer, Splashtop, and RDP.
Got it. Yeah. So cover most of the bases there.
It does, I believe. I mean, that again, overlaps with Ninja's vision of being a multi partner company, wherein we believe and we know that MSPs have religions. We don't want to corner them into a side and force them to use the tools we like. We'd rather give them more options. So that's why we have multiple products in every realm, and they can pick and choose what they really like.
Can we talk about integrations a little bit more at the moment? So you mentioned earlier on PSA integration, professional services, automation integration. What does that look like at the moment? Which sort of products do you integrate with?
So there's quite a few different PSAs, actually. I would love to guide you to our website and talk through it that way.
Yeah. Because AJ, as soon as we put this video out, I'm going to get questions from people saying, do they integrate with this? Do they integrate with this? So this is the webpage to go to, integration.
Totally. So we actually have, as you can see, 9 different PSAs that we integrate with today. Our strongest integration still happen to be the one with the giants out there, which is ConnectWise and Autotask. Yeah. And we're actually signed up on their official developer program. So ConnectWise has ConnectWise Invent, which is their partnership program wherein they help us and empower us to use the latest APIs to have a very close-knit integration. And same with the Autotask team as well, or Datto, should I say it. But I mean, our these 2 integrations are super strong, and the same applies to other ones as well. But we have a 2-way sync with Autotask and ConnectWise. You can sync your devices, you can sync your products and configurations, on their side as well. You can connect to devices from that platform. So in other words, let's say there's an alert on Richard PC. We'll also show the TeamViewer link if that applies. And you can connect directly to that device from the ConnectWise console. And also, as I mentioned, there's a two ways. So if you reset or close a ticket in ConnectWise, it's going to reset the alert on the Ninja side and vice versa.
Got it. So two-way sync. So there's no clicking into different products and changing tickets all over the place.
Exactly, right. Try to make it as seamless as possible.
Very cool. I want to rewind a little bit, something that you showed earlier, just in passing, and that was where you were filtering based on technology platforms. So you filtered earlier on based on Linux. Tell me a bit more about that, because I'm intrigued.
Totally.
And my mind's already going with some ideas here. So show me a little bit more.
Great. So yes, this is our device search. Let me close this out.
Yeah.
So this will let you filter devices based upon quite a few different criteria. And then you can also save this search for use afterwards. So a good example is I can filter based upon an organization, based upon the location. So Ninja also supports locations for orgs. If MSP is supporting a company that is geographically distributed, they can have different locations set up here. And that's how you can also take a look at them. Devices are by device type. So these are all the different device types that Ninja supports. So you can create a composite filter to check for devices that belong to either of those categories. Based upon statuses, so it could be any or all of, up, down, healthy, unhealthy. If there's a warning that's on a machine, which means there's an alert that's triggered. And this is where the real meat is. So you can filter based upon the BitLocker status. So by the way, we also added support for BitLocker and FileVault, wherein you can also look at the recovery key right within Ninja.
Oh, that is very, very useful. So I know lots of MSPs. BitLocker is a double-edged sword. It can be super, super powerful for encrypting data, but if you lose the key, that's it, you're stuffed.
Right? So you can check by BitLocker status if it's enabled, disabled, or unknown for any reason. You can again go back here. Based upon any conditions triggered, you can actually filter by which condition is triggered. So if you want to see all machines with high CPU alerts in the past, you could take a look at them here. You can filter by operating system patches. So if a certain patch is installed or not installed on those machines, you can also dissect the view based upon that. Based on public IP, gateway IP, software inventory. So you can also check for different pieces of software that are installed or not. So a good example would be Office. So there's all these different Office versions here. I could select one or more, and it will show me the devices that have that version of Office. And yep, again, based upon domain, downtime, FileVault status for Macs. So yeah, the list goes on. And then this filter can be saved. I could just say Richard demo test and save it. And I can then always go back to this filter after the fact. So I could just go here, load group, and I can filter by Richard. And it's going to show me those devices. So the reason why we have these groups is actually everything is so well connected, right? So if we go into something called schedule tasks or tasks, this is again a new feature since we last met. Okay. So you can run a script on a device, a group, or an organization. So along the same lines, right? So you go in here, let's say you want to defrag, which might not be a good example, but let's say you want to defrag all the hard drives on a group. So you will, say defrag here, add the scripts that you want to run. And then in terms of targets, add a group, organization, or a device. So in terms of groups, I could just again look for my favorite Richard group. So that's all about schedule tasks. We also added maintenance mode, which was one of the highest requested features at Ninja, wherein people want to not be bothered when a device is going through its scheduled maintenance.
Yes.
Right. And we've actually taken that feature to the next level. You might appreciate that, being a tech person yourself.
Indeed.
So let's actually go here and go to maintenance and configure. So we not only let you suppress the notifications, we also let you suppress patching, the antivirus scans. It essentially freezes all the condition-based alerting in time. So if this device had any alerts configured on it, they will not be computed during that interval. And also any scripting that's configured on this device to be run will also be paused.
Brilliant. So just to be clear for any of my fellow techies watching, when we've been in that situation where you're doing some work on a PC or a group of PCs, for instance, and you have to turn services off and you have to make some changes, and then your RMM tool jumps in there and starts generating tickets saying this service is not working and this is not working. It can be a nightmare. It can be a bit of a pain to happen. So AJ, in this case with Ninja, you would just put them into maintenance mode and it's going to suppress scripts that are running. It's going to suppress the alerts that might be triggered, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Right.
Brilliant. I love that new feature.
Awesome. Thank you. Zooming out a little bit again, talking about the reach of Ninja. So as I mentioned in the beginning of this call, we have support for a lot more audience in different countries. Mm-hmm. And for that, just to empower them the best way and to help support their native language, let's actually open a user here to showcase that. So we have language support for all these different languages now.
Very cool.
So if you are a Swedish or a Russian or a Danish user, you can see the Ninja interface exactly in the language of your preference. And hopefully this is going to make your job easier.
Definitely. And that's throughout the product, is it? So it will change all of the prompts. It will change everything that's going on there.
Absolutely.
That must have been a huge undertaking for you, but kudos for doing it.
It was. But then again, I mean, that's when you really want to spread your wings, and geographical and language barrier, are the ones that were definitely, a hiccup. But yeah, we've gone past that. As you can also see here, by the way, Ninja supports multiple ways of two-factor authentication.
Good.
So not just SMS, there's an authenticator app, and there's also support for U2F for FIDO keys. So that actually goes back into the security realm. Definitely. Let's actually close this out. And let me see if I can show you an example. Let's imagine someone went into the policy and made a change and hit save. They will be greeted by a 2FA prompt. So every key action in Ninja, be it adding devices, deleting orgs, changing policies, and there's quite a few others, is protected by two-factor authentication. And in fact, zooming out altogether, you have to have 2FA turned on for every single user to be able to use Ninja. You cannot log into Ninja without having 2FA on, plain and simple.
Yeah, and that's much needed in our industry, isn't it? So
absolutely.
Quite often you and I both know this, AJ, we speak to MSPs, they want their clients to be very secure, but they perhaps don't follow that advice themselves. So good on you for getting that out there.
Awesome. Yep. So yeah, no, this is very helpful in that regard. And also related to this is something called, actually, let's go to, there you go, security. So just to, there's always a trade-off between being super heavy-handed and also ease of use. So we've introduced something called admin idle time, mm-hmm. which is the interval of time for how long you will not be prompted for 2FA after you first provide that.
I love it. Yeah. So that gives you a window. If you're doing lots of functions in a short period of time, it won't keep prompting you.
Exactly. There you go. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. We've also introduced quite a few new dashboards. So there is a top level alerts dashboard that shows you all the active alerts in the system. And you can, again, filter them by orgs, by conditions. Again, the possibilities are endless. And of course, everything is a hyperlink here. So what we focus at Ninja is a smooth and a fluid user experience. And you will notice that while I show you more things here, which is, again, the number one thing that we've kept in mind. So that's where I actually want to give a shout out to our Sal, our CEO, who actually happens to be our CPO or our Chief Product Officer as well. And he's very particular about the user interface and how the interactions are. And we've also doubled down on the user experience by also adding a UX team to Ninja very recently. So what you see is only going to get better.
Because it looks very, very nice at the moment. I think one of the things I would say about Ninja and this new range of RMM tools that are coming into the market, shaking things up a little bit, it looks good. One of the complaints that I hear about some of the legacy tools within our marketplaces, they look a little bit sort of Windows 95, dare I say, without pointing any fingers here. This is a very modern interface. So, and I presume this web interface just works on any platform.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very cool.
Awesome. And if you again look at the alerts or threats view at the top level, so if there's any threats found within Ninja, so again here we support Bitdefender, which is probably what we didn't have when we last spoke. So we also added Bitdefender in addition to Webroot, which is what we had at that time. So you get to pick the AV of your choice, and you will see all these active or quarantined threats. You can also act upon right here. So you could block them, you could delete the files, you could add them to exclusions. So there's all these different actions available for each of these threats.
Yeah. While we're talking about dashboards, when I ran my managed service provider business at AJ, we used to have a physical dashboard or two in the office, sort of displaying what was going on across the board. Has Ninja got that sort of facility where people can just have at a view glance?
Totally. So here is our heads up display.
Yeah.
So this is what we call as our global dashboard that shows you all your customers with underlying devices and things that need attention. So there's things like there's pending patches, pending third-party patches, triggered alerts, servers down, or there are devices under maintenance. So again, I mean, you got to get a hang of the icons. These lots of different icons that I just threw at you. But then you have this middle panel, which shows you the summary counts of devices in different statuses.
So at a glance, you can take a look there and see what's going on.
Correct.
With the help of not just one client, but across the entire client field. Yeah.
And then let's say, for example, you hire a technician just to take care of a certain customer. So in that case, you are presented with a customer dashboard, so which is the same view as before, but it's focused towards that customer. And here everything is actionable. So in this case, let's say there are pending patches. I click here, I can come in here, and I can approve the patch for that device or for the whole policy, or again, reject it for just a device or for the whole policy. So everything here is actionable.
And I can't help but notice in the top right-hand corner there, we've got an edit and a delete button. So does that lead me to believe that you can use sort of widgets here and move things around? Or
no, actually, so this edit is supposed to make it easier for you to go to the organization level settings and modify them as necessary. So again, you can take care of device approvals, add Hyper-V or VMware, which is again something we can talk about. We added support for both of them. You can add TeamViewer or Splashtop to your devices, and also control ask confirmation or not at the org level. So in other words, if security, again, going back to security one more time. So you want to connect to a customer, but that customer is very particular about being able to control your access to his device or not. So in that case, you can turn on ask confirmation, which means they will receive the prompt and they can reject or approve it. We support that both for TeamViewer and Splashtop, but Splashtop is a little bit more granular when we let you control that per device role. And also, if I select this, it will allow me to reject or approve the session after the timeout expires.
Got it. Because there's nothing more frustrating for an engineer to try and take over a system and the user's not there, they've gone out for lunch or something.
Exactly.
So you can set it there to actually approve after a certain period.
That is correct. Yes.
Got it. Okay. On the left-hand side there, I can see just below Splashtop, we've got backup. So tell us a little bit more about the backup integration.
There's so much to talk about backup. So that's one
of you smile as soon as I asked about that. So I think it's something we're excited about.
It is definitely very exciting. So we are proud to have built a backup product from the ground up in Ninja. So Sal, our CEO, has done multiple startups in the backup space, and he has already led teams who were experts, developing those products. So we have some really rare talent at Ninja that's helped us build this backup product from scratch. So what's out there today is a file and folder backup. Let's actually go back to the organization and show you how the pieces work together.
Okay.
So for backups, first piece is deploying the backup. So what we offer today is Windows backup only, and that's file and folder only. We already are in the works of creating image-based backup and also adding a Mac counterpart for file and folder backup. So we are going to increase, our feature set and also the platforms we support as it relates to backups. But yeah, so you pick all devices, or you can handpick certain devices. I'll not make the change just to avoid any predefined settings or to mess them up. But yeah, here you can also provide bandwidth throttling for this org. So if a certain customer has a smaller pipe, internet pipe that is, you can also throttle it and define how much bandwidth you want to use during work hours versus non-work hours, and also define the work hours and non-work hours here. So that's one piece here. Second piece is controlled through the policy. So let's actually go back to the policies world and go back to Clean TDS and go to the backups tab. So here you provide the backup job a friendly name, pick the schedule, how often you want to run it. So you can also run that at a very high cadence. You can also maybe run that every 10 minutes if you wanted to perform rapid backups. Here are the power options. So it'll also try wake up the device if it's sleeping to perform the backup, which is huge.
Definitely, because so many MSPs that I speak to, one of the banes of their lives is machines not getting backed up because they're not switched on. So
right, totally. And revision. So here we manage the whole revision trimming business. So by default, if you just turn that off, it will just create infinite revisions of those devices. And you can also remove the locally deleted files. So let's say you remove some files on the actual machine. We do a compare, and we can remove those files from the cloud instance as well, based upon the number of days you specify here.
Got it. And where is the data stored from this? Do you have an option over where the data is backed up to?
So good question. So again, just sticking with the Ninja experience, we wanted to make it super easy and slick for our users. So we have provided, we use Amazon S3 in the backend, but it's all transparent to the users. So they will never have to worry about what we do, how we do it, have to log into the Ninja, the Amazon console, go into the buckets and retrieve the data from there. No, it's all seamless and single pane.
Got it, understood. Now I heard a mention fairly recently around Ninja Data Protection. Is this the service that we're looking at here, or is that something else that we should be aware of?
That is correct. No, that exactly is what it is. It's the brand name for Ninja Backup. So it's called Ninja Data Protection. And again, as I mentioned, the portfolio is going to increase to image backups, file and folder backups for Mac, also backing up to the NAS, backing up to the cloud and retrieving files from the image in the cloud. So there's so much more coming, but I would rather hold my horses and would love to do another call with you once we have all those features out.
We'll have to, and we won't leave it 3 years next time, because otherwise the videos will get longer and longer and longer.
Totally right.
There's something else I wanted to.
Please.
Sorry, you were about to talk to me about something else. I will hold my question for a moment.
No, I was just going to go on with the flow of the backup, like what else we do.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So in terms of folders, so here you specify what do you want to back up. So there's two things you could do here. You could add the common paths. So again, if you can back up from the user profile or the public profile, you can handpick the folders. So if your device has multiple people logging in there, you can just pick these generic settings, and it's going to back up all the desktops for all users and all the program data for all the public profiles. So that's one way of doing it. Or you could provide a certain path. So I could just do C drive Richard, and it's going to back up C drive Richard folder on every single device under this policy.
Got it. So you could use that for maybe line of business applications that are in specific directories, that type of thing.
Exactly, right? So now let's take a look at how things appear in Ninja after they're backed up. So speaking of dashboards, we have a backup dashboard. This shows you a summary view of how much data has been backed up. So point to be noted, the amount of storage that you see here is compressed and encrypted storage. This probably would be a fraction of the actual storage that's being backed up from those devices.
Yeah. And how is the backup charged without getting into the specifics and things? Is it charged per gigabyte, or do you have certain plans available for MSPs?
Right. So I'm not aware of the cost, but I can tell you like it's charged in terms of every desktop comes with a 50 gig storage.
Okay.
And every server comes with a 500 gig storage attached to it.
Yeah, that
and then you can also buy additional storage if you wanted to. So you can mix and match the packages.
Excellent. So this is all natively being built into Ninja, and we can expect more and more of these backup features down the road.
Oh, a lot more. I mean, there's more to show you here. There's so much fun stuff. So you can take a look at the top orgs consuming the backup storage. You can again filter down to that that org and see a similar view. See a similar view of the data being backed up. You can see the top devices contributing to the backup storage. If I click here, I could actually go to the device. In this case, the device has been deleted, so it shows you that. I can go to the backup manager, which I'm going to show you actually the backup manager on a happy device, which is actually in Ninja. So let's go here. So I can go to device overview, backup overview, or backup manager. So backup overview will take me to, again, a similar dashboard, but on a device level.
Yeah.
And then we can also take a look at the history of all the backup runs in the past. If there were any warnings, and if I click on the hyperlink, this will provide a queue to our support team to help troubleshoot this issue.
Super. And of course, a backup is only as good as its restore.
There you go.
So
exactly.
Let's have a look there and see what the restores are.
Totally. So it's controlled from this button. There's actually manage backups and run backup plan. So this will let you run the backup plan in an ad hoc fashion. But then if you go to manage backups, this shows you everything that's been backed up for this device.
Good.
So here is a deleted folder on the actual device, which is still backed up in the cloud. I can drill down to the backup data in the cloud. Again, as I mentioned, this is Amazon S3, but this is all transparent. So these are all real-time calls to the S3 infrastructure. And if you notice how smooth and how quick these operations are. So the calls are really optimized.
Yeah,
you could download files or restore files. So let's click on download. You can handpick the revision that you want to download and just hit the download button. And in terms of restoration, first of all, pick the revision that you want to restore. Preemptively define if you want to skip the file, overwrite or override the whole folder if the file already exists at the destination. And you can restore to the same machine or to a different machine in the same org.
That's very cool. So just to differentiate, so download is if we wanted to grab hold of a copy of the file for ourselves as an engineer to work on perhaps, and restore is to push the file directly to a workstation at the client side.
That is correct, yes. And this is again handy, right? Being able to select a different device, because let's say the main device died, it crashed. So you spin up a brand new machine in the same org. You could then restore all the files from the crash machine to the new machine.
Got it. Yeah. And what can you share with us about the plans for backup in the future? So, for instance, disaster recovery and things like that. Are those in the roadmap? Is that something that you're looking at?
Totally. So, image backups, once it's released, it will also have a bootable ISO that comes with it that will help you restore to bare metal. Cool. And also, again, we can mount the images, or we will be able to mount the images in the cloud and be able to retrieve individual files from there. And also, as I mentioned, we'll have support for Mac file and folder to start with and graduate down that road as well.
Do you ever see, I mean, this looks like an awesome product. Do you ever see this being offered as a product outside of Ninja, or is it going to remain for Ninja customers?
We have not thought about that possibility yet. I mean, right now the goal is to empower our RMM customers more and probably help them use the bundle. But again, I mean, I would say there's endless possibilities in the ways we can dissect and sell this product as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I've got some questions for you around business about MSPs making money. But before I jump into those, is there anything else that we should be aware of on the dashboard? There's probably other things.
I'm dying to show you something.
Go for it.
So, which is one of the hottest features we released last year. And I call it hottest because it was not planned that way, but it was, I would say, a match made in heaven. So, we released something called end user sharing last year, which
Mm.
lets you or lets your customers get access to their devices, remotely.
Ah,
And let me show you how that started. So let's go to accounts, let's go to end users, and let's look at my test user. So this will let you give access to specific devices. And by the way, this is completely brandable, so you can give a view of your branded portal to the end user. But the end user can then have access to RDP, TeamViewer, Splashtop, command line, or as a system user or as a logged in user. So you can provide specific remote access to the end user without overwhelming them with different options or too many options for the device. So let me actually, and by the way, so we'll stay here. And also, if you notice, there's backup.
I
So
did
the
notice.
plan is to empower the end user as much as possible. There's a lot more that's being thought about. I'll just keep on that till the time that's actually out. But there is a very well-defined vision where this will go down the line.
Mm.
But and then of course you can handpick the devices that you want to provide to this user, and they could belong to a certain org, or they could span across different orgs. So this is again a part of our recent enhancement called global end user. So what that view looks for the end user is as follows. So this is a much more trimmed down version of Ninja, which just shows you the devices that this person has access to.
So this is the web interface that an end user would log into if they want to gain access to their machines.
That is correct. Yeah. Yes. And in this case, like this is a Mac, right? So I can actually log into the terminal as a root or as the logged in user.
Ah, so you actually extend those features to the end user as well.
We did.
Yeah.
Right. So let's actually do this. And this terminal, just to keep things much more easier and much more fun for the end user, we made this a full screen, a new tab terminal. So this gives you the full screen real estate to perform the actions that you want. So that's terminal. And of course, there's RDP, TeamViewer, and Splashtop. So I'm just going to click on TeamViewer to show you, how easy it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we take the guessing out of the whole, equation, and made it much more easier and just given them what they really need, right? They just need to connect to their devices remotely, and that's what Ninja has provided them.
I can see why this became a hot feature for you last year. So, because is there anything that's happened in the world in the last 12 months where lots of people would want to access their machines remotely, perhaps?
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, it's really terrible and sad what's happened, but yeah, this feature has really come in handy for MSPs. Like, it's not a very complicated way of setting the end users, and that's what I really love about it.
Yeah.
So also talking about backups now, so users can also manage their own backups, or should I say restores and whatnot. So if I click on the backup manager, you see the same view that you saw as a technician in terms of manage backups. So if I go in here, go to C drive, they can download files. They cannot really restore files, right? Because they're on the machine already. So they can't really restore to different devices, but they do have an option to look at their repository and download individual files or folders if they wanted to.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an audit trail for access from this perspective as well?
Good question. So that's actually one thing. I'm not sure how I missed it. So Ninja has something called an activity feed.
Yeah.
Which is, well, I've seen some of the other competitors recently build that, but we had this from day one, and it's really, really elaborate. But this lets you keep a track of every single thing that you do in the Ninja platform.
Brilliant.
And then you can cut in, again, dissect that information in multiple ways. I can see, hey, what was a certain user up to? So he's connected to this device, he logged in, he reset a password for a user and whatnot. So it's a full-blown audit trail, which can also be then exported as a CSV.
Oh, really good from the perspective of security again as well, and keeping track of what's going on there. And
Totally.
is this just an audit trail for technicians, or we've just seen end users being able to gain access to machines? At the moment, do you have an audit trail for end user access?
I believe, let's actually take a look.
Mm.
So no, it's only for technicians, if I remember correctly. Yep.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
Cool. I can see why you were excited to show me that. That's very cool, the end user features. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Anything else that we should be aware of? And I know we've covered an awful lot already there. Anything else that you're excited about, AJ?
Let's take a look. Yeah, there's overall improvements again with the workflows, as I mentioned, Richard. So there's things like favorites, which you can favorite devices easily. You can remove them
so
easily.
for common machines that you're, as a technician, that you're
Totally.
accessing a lot. Yeah.
Totally. Same with recents. And also, again, some quality of life improvements. Let's say I want to go to a device. So I search for the device, and under the play button, I can then perform or just jump to a certain place. I can,
brilliant.
So open the task manager on Dr. Abed's workstation without having to click on 10 different things and get to that point.
That is fantastic. Yeah, that I can almost feel engineers watching this and thinking that's going to save me an awful lot of time. Such a small feature, but it's going to save engineers and technicians so much time.
Totally, right? Another couple of things which I would love to mention are VMware and Hyper-V monitoring. So if you, again, go to a VMware host, so we support ESXi version 6.0 and above, just add that device to Ninja, see the top level view in terms of how big the data store is, how many total number of virtual machines we support, and the magic happens under the VM list. So this shows you all the virtual machines configured on that host, and you can start, stop, restart, and perform all these operations on these virtual machines. And if I drill down to one of those, go to the settings tab or the details tab, take a look at the snapshots, create snapshots, delete snapshots, and also you can get alerted based upon the snapshots exceeding a threshold. There's a full-blown policy in Ninja for CPU, memory, and whatnot, again, for the host as well as the guests. Wow. So very elaborate VMware-based monitoring. And also the same is also extended to Hyper-V, which we released recently in open beta.
So you've really beefed up the features from the virtualization perspective.
We've tried to.
You definitely have, yeah.
And just looking at my notes, well, one thing that's really worth highlighting is our brand new API. So this is an extremely powerful iteration of what we have, and compared to the first version of the API, which was relatively, I would say, 1/10 of the power, and also in terms of the data it could grab. So this is a very elaborate API that pretty much lets you fetch any value in Ninja when it comes to devices, organizations, policies. There's also quite a few, if I go down, there's also quite a few put operations here. So you can actually build a platform on top of Ninja to perform these actions if you wanted. And I've known customers who do that.
Yeah. And I'm guessing any vendors that are watching this as well that have got third-party products that they think, hey, we would like to integrate with Ninja, this is the way forward for them.
That's their mecca. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So we've covered an awful lot in a period of time here. So thank you for it. I've got a couple of questions, if I may. And it's perhaps around some of the things you talked about earlier about Ninja now being available in multiple different languages for multiple different parts of the world. So I speak to MSPs, I speak to IT solution providers in different parts of the world, AJ. Some are running the managed service model where, it's perhaps an all-you-can-eat a support model, but then others are still doing what I would call break fix or block time, where they're actually looking for opportunities to sell time to a client. What do you see Ninja being used by? Which type of companies? Is it a mixture worldwide?
It's absolutely a mixture. I mean, we've seen growth in all different areas. Like we've had lots of MSPs using, doing break fix on SLAs, and also, lots of people from corporate IT organically also picking up Ninja,
Ah,
just because of the feature set, how diverse it's become from what it was. And yeah, the whole single pane of glass experience, even though everybody hates using that term again and again, like that is, yeah, that is a huge help, not
and have
having
you
to jump.
you mentioned about internal IT departments using it, which is very interesting. So the co-managed IT or the downstream IT. Have you seen any MSPs where they are using that as an opportunity to sell their services into an internal IT team?
Right. Now we see all kinds of permutations of this, and we are still our channel focused. So we try to promote all the sales through MSPs possibly. But yeah, there's been instances when we've had customers on both sides come to us and ask for Ninja, but we still try to give that business to MSPs wherever we can.
That's very cool. Yeah. So my other question was going to be, you've got this mixture of IT companies using the Ninja product at the moment. We've got break fix companies, we've got managed service providers, and those sort of in between hybrid model.
Mhm.
Let me put you on the spot, AJ. If I was a break fix company looking at this product now, what are some of the areas that you would say is almost like low hanging fruit that you could go into a break fix client with Ninja and look for opportunities to sell services or projects in there?
So I actually have something interesting to share with you.
Okay.
I was actually talking to our product and marketing manager, Pete, uh, discussing and brainstorming over this, and he was like, "Hey, I just done a presentation on this, so I would love to steal his thunder by looking at his slides and talking through them."
Why not?
Thanks, Peter. So let's actually let's do
Ah,
the slideshow. Uh, so very interesting point that he mentioned was that's actually the next one, which is it's much more harder to sell to a new customer rather than trying to upsell to an existing customer,
yeah.
because the cost of acquisition is really high. You have to do all that marketing and do the whole dance to acquire that customer in the first place. But once you already have a good trust relationship with a customer, then it's much more easier to showcase the value you can provide and sell them something
Yes.
to help their business. But yeah, he mentioned a few different things. The tactic number one, exactly to your point, for a breakfast customer was being able to look at the hardware upgrade opportunities, look at all the outdated software,
Yeah.
if there's any of the devices which are running in less in terms of storage, and help them with the capacity planning. Showcase like, hey, certain machines they have a really old CPU, for example.
Yes.
Oh, these machines just have 4 gigs of RAM, and then you run QuickBooks and Excel on it. Or you also want to hire uh, an AutoCAD technician, and 8 gigs might not suffice for him. So help with all the hardware and software capacity planning, and also things like there's drives failing. We also have RAID support in Ninja, or RAID monitoring, and also smart monitoring in Ninja,
Good.
which will easily tell them which devices are or drives are on the verge of crashing, and make sure you back up all the data, which again is also another opportunity to upsell backup.
Yeah.
And so there's endless possibilities
Because it's
there.
an interesting scenario. So, for any IT businesses watching this who are perhaps in the moving across to the managed service model, and you're
Mm-hmm.
wondering, well, how can I persuade clients that managed services is the way to go? We see some great opportunities here. Imagine being able to proactively get in touch with one of your clients and say, your hard disk is just about to fail and you
There you
haven't got
go.
a backup. Can we jump in and help you with that? That makes that client realize that, first of all, you're very helpful to have on call. But secondly, wouldn't it be good if these guys were looking after our machines proactively all of the time? So that was
Totally.
when you were going through the filters earlier on, AJ, I was thinking this is an opportunity to highlight machines that are low on memory, low
There
on
you
hard
go.
disk space, that type of thing.
Totally. And we also have reports in Ninja that can highlight that, which we can also take a look at if we go that route. But uh, yeah, you can do that. There's also a few other points I want to make here, uh, which I have lost track of. They'll come back to me, I'm sure.
That's right.
But yeah, let's move on to the next slide as well. So one more thing in terms of break fix, which is you can offer them a demo or a trial, if you will, of your services. So
Mm,
install the RMM agent on all the devices, show them what this perfect world looks like, and if you show your value in that 1 month by doing the things that you saw on the previous screen, they'll be like, hey, why can't we just sign up for a monthly recurring model? So the point I was trying to make before, which I had lost track of, was IT is an afterthought for most SMBs or most small companies.
Yeah.
And if you help them understand what's going to happen if a certain server or a desktop dies, how much data that they're going to lose and how bad that could be for their business, only that way, or maybe that's one way of helping them understand how valuable you and your services are to them.
Yeah, that's super, super powerful, AJ, for helping people, migrate from the break fix to the managed service model, which is such a challenge for many people who'll be watching this video.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. There's other tactics. So you could also, again, there's things like hardware upgrades, which we already covered. You can also, do this end of life warranty tracking of your devices, look at the security and compliance, wherein how many devices have AV. There could be viruses found on some of them, and there could be a device that gets a virus every couple of months. So there could be something more going on there. Maybe you need to sign up for a EDR vendor or another vendor altogether to help them with the security side. And then you get together with the customer and create an action plan of all the different areas that you could fix. Because again, if you give them a gigantic invoice of all the things that you're going to do in one shot, that's going to scare them away.
Definitely.
So you rather want to phase out the approach, phase out the action plan, and make them into smaller increments, which is not that heavy on their pocket, because IT does not bring them revenue. IT is still a cost center.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, again, this is a slide that just say the highlighted words are, they make them see the value of your work. You can't really talk through it. If you install Ninja or another RMM for that matter, and if you fix issues or find issues, is only when they'll realize like how much you can really offer and how much were they missing out on so far.
Yeah. And so was it Pete who put together this slide deck here?
That is correct. Yes.
Big thumbs up there, Pete. We're on the same wavelength. Thank you.
Awesome. And then of course you can also do another high level assessment, right? So if you don't want to offer a trial, again, there's different tactics you could go about. So you could just add the agents there for a short period of time, perform an assessment, looking at all the devices with pending patches, failed patches, missing AV, having firewall turned off, all kinds of different things. And also, as I said, capacity stuff, like wherein machines that have really old CPUs or are out of warranty, and provide that assessment to those customers. So that's another way of doing it. And also doing a backup report, by the way, to look at like all the stuff that needs to be backed up or that has been backed up. And maybe the last one is, again, show them the power of automation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting sell. So it's a hit or miss, because if that's a new age company and the owners are open to newer ideas and the newer ways of doing things, and they understand that the whole world is becoming more automated and with lesser human interaction, and rightfully so, because they want more optimized operations. So if you can showcase things that you could do automatically through the platform, that's going to be a great way to sell your offering to them.
I like it. Now, something I would like us to cover here, for anybody who's watching this who's a managed service provider, and you will know this, AJ, as well as I do, when you first start working with a client, they've got lots of problems and they're feeling the pain, and you're the hero to them. So you come in, you fix the problems, you use a tool like Ninja to make everything just smooth and work. And then after a few months, the client turns around to you and says, there's been no problems in ages. What is it we're paying you for? Because they don't see the value. So could you tell us a little bit about the reporting from Ninja and how we can demonstrate to clients, the good stuff that we're doing to keep things moving in the background?
Totally. So yeah, let's talk about Ninja reporting. So by default, we offer quite a few reports. So there's a regular report, which is again a summary view of the different aspects of monitoring. Actually, if I go to regular view, if I go to the bottom, these are the different sections that are presented in the report. Why don't we do this? Let's run this report on a device, on an org. Let's see, print is regular. So let's hit view. So you can generate a PDF, or you could look at the report real time. It's completely brandable. Obviously, you can send that to the customers as well. Again, as a part of proving your value. So shows you all your assets that you're managing, all the scripts that you ran across those devices, how many patch management scans, how many reboots that you worked out or you did for them, the top 10 devices in terms of the number of alerts triggered. So the main problem devices.
Yeah.
And then also there's a summary by alerts triggered. So this will show you how bad things are. And maybe there's a sudden catastrophic event that happened at that site. And that's why the number of alerts spiked all the way. So this shows you a trend chart of that.
Yeah.
Separation by Windows servers versus workstations. How many CPU alerts, memory alerts, disk, network, and other alerts triggered on them. So more like a generic health stuff. I didn't mention we also have an NMS offering, right? So we also support your routers, switches, firewalls, or basically any device that supports SNMP. So you can also see, awesome. So we can also see that information here. And again, this is a look at all the TeamViewer sessions from an auditing perspective. So who logged into which machine, from what time to what time, and what was the duration, right? So this is helpful from an auditing standpoint. This is also helpful from a billing standpoint if you want to bill the customers for those sessions in an ad hoc fashion. You can do that too. We do the same for Splashtop as well. Disk encryption enablement. So this is our BitLocker and FileVault status. So number of machines that have BitLocker turned on or off, and same with FileVault. And it shows you the device name and also what type of device that is, which volume has the TPM chip. It's going to show the TPM version as well, and also the disk encryption status.
And again, each of these reports, each of these sections of the reports can be used in sales situations as well, can't they? When you sit down,
absolutely, absolutely
done, yeah,
totally. This is a report of the antivirus in terms of Windows Security Center. So we integrate with Windows Security Center. So any AV on the planet will show up here as long as it registers with the Windows Security Center. So it shows you the amount of devices that have it, that are protected versus not, which solution is implemented on those. So some have Bitdefender, some have Webroot, and by definition status. So if the devices definitions are up to date or not. And then you see a breakdown of those devices and also by the state of the AV, if it's on or off, and if it's up to date or not. So, and then as I mentioned, as a part of our networking or network monitoring, we can also see the net flow traffic on your main core devices like routers or firewalls. So this shows you, which are the top protocols being used or in transit in terms of the packets, and which are the different sites people are going to most often. And then a breakdown by the endpoints as to their contribution towards the traffic for the overall organization. So this is the top talker.
So that could be interesting. You would expect servers and things to be the top talkers on a network. Could be interesting if it's a certain member of staff accessing a certain site and using a lot of bandwidth.
There you go, exactly. Again, for Splashtop, this is the same view analogous to TeamViewer, wherein which user in Ninja or technician in Ninja connected to which device for what duration. And this also shows the WAN IP, by the way, that they connect from. And so, yeah, and then also Windows product keys.
Oh, good.
And critical Windows event logs. So, I mean, there's all these different pieces of information slapped together that comprises of our regular report. The other one is an asset report, which might be a great way to upsell your services. Let's actually look at the one that's already here. There you go. That's it view. So this is more abstract. I believe all the sections are not turned on. That's why I barely see anything here. So let's click edit. Let's actually go here, create new report, organization, asset, and let's go to clean teeth, send it to AJ Singh. never. So there you go. I was wondering what happened to all the sections. So yeah, so there you go. All the sections already here. Oh, I got to give it a new name. Richard demo. Save and close. Oh, there you go. I see it here. View. So now this shows you a breakdown of all the different device types that you support for this organization. Separation by operating systems. And here you see every single device with some high-level hardware information. So look at all these devices with 4 gigs of memory. Let's say if you saw Core i3 or maybe Core 2 Duo processor somewhere, or Windows 7 running somewhere, those are a great way to upgrade those devices.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is our NMS summary. So routers, switches, firewalls that you're supporting, all the networking devices, and summary breakdown by processors, video card, sound card, hard drives. Let me scroll down. If you had like SSDs versus regular drives, you can see that.
Okay.
And also the smart status for all those device types. RAM capacity, upgrade opportunity. There you go. There's 2 Macs, which have less than 4 gigs of RAM. And if you had VMware or Hyper-V devices under this organization, you'll see a similar view for those devices too. And a high-level software inventory, which shows you different pieces of software and how many times they're installed or how many devices are installed on under this org.
Okay.
And also those devices. And this is, if you see the scroll bar is only here. So
there's quite a lot of information.
There's quite a lot of information, yes. And we also have a way to add device notes to devices. So it's going to show you like which devices have which notes. Like this has just one monitor. This is a domain server and whatnot. So could be notes that are helpful for the technicians that when a new person joins the team or whatnot.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. There is a lot of information there available, isn't there?
There's a lot. I mean, there's other reports. There's patch compliance report. There's a backup report. There is an executive summary report, which again is something that you want to send to the customers. So yes. Yeah, and of course there is a custom report, which means it's going to lay out every single category available. So this is a huge list of all the different sections available across all the reports. So you can, put together the ones that you want to, get together for this customer and present it to him.
And my next question was going to be, which I think I can see the answer on screen, can we automate these reports so they go to specific users or specific key points in the business on a certain
Yes,
schedule?
sir. Totally. So they could go to different technicians at Ninja, or they could go to the end customers by just providing their email addresses.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So the reporting has come on quite a bit since I last spoke to you to have a look in here as well.
It has, and there's a lot more that we plan to start doing this year. So reporting is one area where we still feel we have a lot more work to do, and it closely relates to dashboards. We want to add a lot more customization to both of them in the near future. So there is work that's already started there, but I would love to revisit that once we have something concrete to showcase.
This has been brilliant, AJ. As we come to the end of our time together, is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't already? Is there anything else that you think you need to show to me?
I think, I believe we have covered most of the high level stuff. I mean, again, I would say like we've come a long way as a company.
Definitely.
The old gripe back in the day was Ninja does not have enough features, and we agree. I mean, there was a point wherein we were still catching up to the big players in this market. And now, I mean, I would say at this point in time, we have pretty much covered all that feature gap, and we have one of the best support and onboarding teams. And I would say we are proud of the Ninja experience. So from the day you sign up for a trial till the day you stay with Ninja, the experience is marvelous. So Ninja is not just a tool, it's an experience, and we stand by it.
Yeah.
So we'd love to, for everybody to try it out. There's a 30-day trial that you can be a part of from our website, and would love to get you guys going.
And so for anybody watching this who wants to continue the conversation with you, AJ, or take out a trial, first of all, how would they get in touch with you if they want a conversation with you as a VP of product?
It's super easy. aj@ninjarmm.com. I promise it cannot. I tried a@ninjarmm.com, but they won't give it to me. But jokes apart, you can reach me via email. More than happy to hop on a call with you. And if we need to bring in sales, if we need to bring in support, one thing we love about Ninja and the way things work here is the culture. And if you are a small customer or a big customer, it does not matter. If you want to hop on a call with any of the executives to learn what we're doing, if you have something to tell us, if we're not doing something correctly, we're all ears. Sal is super eager to jump on calls with our customers. He's all day on calls with customers, helping them out. And we are getting bigger, but we still have that DNA of a small company wherein we want to make sure we cater to businesses, small and big alike.
It's brilliant to hear, AJ, and really, really good to see how the business has grown in the last 3 years. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day there to show me around the entire product. It is mind-blowing to see how much you've improved things over the last 3 years. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Richard, and thanks for doing this with us.
My pleasure. And let's make sure that we don't leave it 3 years until the next update, because the way you're going, we're going to need to do this in the next 6 months or so, I would have thought.
Looking forward to that. Thank you so much again. Thanks.
Cheers, AJ.